Hi, today we're going to be looking at how to find the area of a rhombus. So the first thing we need to do is remember that a rhombus is a quadrilateral, meaning it has four sides, with all four sides equal in length, but only opposite sides are parallel. It sort of looks like a square that somebody pushed over. So there's also some other parts of the rhombus that we need to talk about before we can get started. So the first part is the two vertices across from each other that make a smaller line. We call this the minor diagonal. These two vertices, or the points where lines meet, make a longer line. That's the major diagonal. So we're going to be using a lowercase d for the minor diagonal and a capital letter D for the major diagonal. So let's get started. I have this plate here that will help us. And this plate does a really good job of showing us the minor diagonal and the major diagonal. Anytime we want to figure out the area of a figure, we try to build it into a rectangle because we know that's just base times height. So I have a rectangle over here, and this is going to help us do the work. So the first thing I want to do is see what part of my rhombus makes the rectangle. So remembering that this is my minor diagonal, I'll put my finger on the minor diagonal and place it. We can see that the minor diagonal is the same thing as the base. So that's the first part of our formula, is we have just the minor diagonal. It didn't change any, it didn't double or get cut in half. It's just exactly the same. Minor diagonal and the base. The next part we need to look at is the height. How do we make the height? So for this, I'm going to move these pieces to represent my major diagonal. When I take the major diagonal, I can see that half of it makes the height. You see how it didn't use the entire major diagonal? Even though I'm going to use it on the other side, it still only makes the height. And that is the second part of our formula. Area of a rhombus is the minor diagonal times the major diagonal divided by 2, or cut in half. Let's look at that one more time, and then I'll show you how to draw your own. Making the base, I see that my minor diagonal makes the base. And I also see that half of my major diagonal makes the height. Now, to make your own, I've already done some of the work. The first thing you need to do is trace or draw your rhombus. The second thing that you need to do is put in your minor diagonal and your major diagonal. I like to use a dotted line for one of them and a solid line for the other. That just helps me visually differentiate between the two. But you can draw it any way that you know that works for you. So here's my minor diagonal. This number stays the same as it turns into the base of the rectangle or the square, so I can pick any number I like for that one. I will pick the number 3. Now, for my major diagonal, this number needs to be bigger than 3 because it's a bigger line. But also, for now, I like to choose an even number because it's easier to divide an even number in half, and we don't want to deal with decimals quite yet. So I will pick any even number bigger than 3. So I will choose the number 8. That's all I need, and now I'm all set to do my work. So every time you do a new figure, you must rewrite the formula. It's just an easy way to help you memorize the formula and also do it step by step so you can spot mistakes if you make any. So area equals Well, the number for my minor diagonal is 3 times my major diagonal is going to be 8 divided by 2. Now, you may say, I know that half of 8 is 4. Why can't I just write 4? It's really important in math, particularly as some of the work that you do gets harder or more complicated, to write it step by step, again, so that you can spot your mistakes and see where you went wrong, if you did. Also, it tells the teacher that you knew exactly what you were doing and you knew where the 4 came from. A equals 3 times 4. I know that times table. A equals 12 squares, and I circle it. So this is how you do the area of a rhombus on paper. And your job now is to draw and fill in numbers and do the work for lots and lots of rhombuses, or rhombi. That's the area of a rhombus.